I'm Everly Davis, the Director of Community Engagement, and on behalf of the Peoria Riverfront Museum Board of Directors and museum team led by President and CEO John Morris, it is my honor and pleasure to welcome you to the launch of a bold new program, the America Forward Speaking Series. Thank you to the philanthropy and support of the Visionary Society and museum members for making this opportunity possible. We are able to have Dr. Ballard with us today as he joins us for the world premiere of his exhibition, Finding Titanic, The Secret Mission. For the first time, the now declassified story of Dr. Ballard's top secret U.S. Navy mission is shared publicly, revealing how a covert Cold War operation to investigate 2 lost nuclear submarines led to one of the most important maritime discoveries in history. Again, this is the first time this exhibition is on view, so we are proud that Central Illinois gets it first. That deserves a round of applause. More on the America Forward Speaking Series. As we look beyond America's 250th anniversary toward the future of our nation, we are proud to create a platform where the brightest minds and most visionary leaders can gather with all of you, our engaged and curious community, to explore the most pressing questions of our time. This series is about more than ideas. It's about inspiration, innovation, and forward momentum. It's about the opportunities we must seize and the challenges we must confront together as we write the next chapter of American history. And what better way to begin this series than with a conversation about discovery, a concept at the very heart of human progress. It is a tremendous privilege to welcome our inaugural speaker, Dr. Robert Ballard. Dr. Ballard is the most accomplished and respected oceanographer and explorer of our time. He is best known to the world for his 1985 discovery of the RMS Titanic, but his career spans decades of groundbreaking work in deep sea exploration and marine science. He is the founder of the Ocean Exploration Trust and the visionary behind the exploration vessel Nautilus, which continues to chart the unknown, often in real time, with students and scientists watching and participating around the globe. With over 170 deep-sea explorations to his name, exploring everything from hydrothermal vents to ancient shipwrecks, Dr. Ballard has not only expanded our understanding of the ocean, but also of our planet and ourselves. His pioneering use of remotely operated vehicles revolutionized ocean exploration, allowing us to reach the ocean's most extreme and inaccessible depths. In a discussion with Peoria Riverfront Museum President and CEO John Morris, Dr. Ballard will share his insights into the future of discovery, what lies ahead in the uncharted territories of science, technology, and exploration, and how the spirit of discovery can guide America forward. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Robert Ballard.
Dr. Robert Ballard, who has repeatedly told me to call him Bob. So I will
Spelled backwards is Bob.
Spelled backwards is Bob. So I will be calling him Bob in respect to his request. Welcome to the Peoria Riverfront Museum. Congratulations on the world premiere of this extraordinary exhibition, Finding Titanic, The Secret Mission. For the first time, you telling your story. America Forward is a series different from what you've been doing the last several days in Peoria, where we're going to use the past and your remarkable discoveries to look forward into the future. But first, tell me what it feels like to be here in the City of Gratitude in Peoria, Illinois.
Well, I was born in Wichita, Kansas, where all oceanographers come from. And so it's fantastic that we're in the heartland of America. I'm 13th generation American, the first to go to college, and I was raised by good old Kansans. But my parents followed my dream. I'm dyslexic, and so I struggled in school. But fortunately, I had my mom's back, and I've always had someone who saw something in this little kid. And I remember that I never read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I saw the movie. that came out when I was 12. And I remember just being fascinated by the Nautilus and fascinated by its exploration. And only in America can you follow your dreams. And so that's why my ship's the Nautilus. I don't want to tell you what my email address is. But anyway, so no, it's lovely to be here. The exhibit will go from here to Omaha and then to Wichita, Kansas.
And back to where it all began.
Yeah, where it all began for me.
More than 100 maritime discoveries.
Quite a number.
Quite a number.
Well, deep sea, yeah.
Deep sea discoveries.
People always, I have kids come and say, would you stop looking for things so there's something left for us? And I've found about 100 shipwrecks dating back to the Iron Age. I mean, covering all span of time. But if you go on and search how many shipwrecks are still remaining, over 3 million. So don't worry, kids. There's a lot waiting for you.
More to find.
Yeah.
So, of course, the Titanic is the one for which your mother has told you.
Yeah,
Tell the
I have to tell
story.
a story. So when I found the Titanic, naturally, I went on the Today Show, the Tonight Show, the Tomorrow Show, the Day After Tomorrow Show. And it was just amazing. And I finally, after a 3-day National Geographic blitz of waterboarding, I came home and the phone rang and it was my mom. And she said, I want you to know that your dad and I and your sister and watched all the shows you were on. But it's too bad you found that rusty old ship. Out of the words of my mother comes, and I said, well, why that? Well, because you're a great scientist. You're the first in our family not only to go to college, but both you and your brother got doctorates. My smarter brother got one in particle physics under Edmund Teller. I had to follow him through school. He was not dyslexic. I would go in there and they say, oh, you're Richard's brother, you must be. No, you're not. But anyway, yeah, moms are moms, and they tend to be right. But it did launch, and so I'm here, but it gives me an opportunity to talk about other things, like the future of exploration.
Like the future. So let's talk about that. What does discovering the past say to you, and what does it inform us about the future?
It's going to be the real age. I see young people sitting in the audience, and I say, your generation will explore more of Earth than all previous generations combined due to the explosion of telepresence technology. Well, by telepresence, I was in the Navy, I was in deep submergence, I was in real submarines, I was in really funny submarines like the NR-1, which was as close as you could get to the Nautilus because it had windows. But the point was the average depth of the ocean is 12,000 feet. It gets down to 35,800 feet. I remember diving on the deepest active volcanoes on Earth are at 20,000 feet in the Cayman Trough in the Caribbean. So I got in the bathyscaphe that turned out to bathyscaphe Trieste too. It took me 6 hours to free fall 20,000 feet, and 6 hours to get back up because you don't power down. You don't have the power, so you weight yourself and you reach a terminal velocity, but it has an exponential function in it. So to go faster, I have to become exponentially heavier, and just not in the math. So there's no way to get down there faster. But then when I started, the expedition to the Titanic was testing our first prototypes of what we call teleoperated robotics, where you think you're there, but you're not. See, if you're looking out at me right now, you do not see, if you look hard, you might see your nose, but you don't see your body. And so where we're moving now is to make you a fish. And I have a board, naturally, and naturally I have some lawyers on my board, and they say, well, so people are going to think they're down there. Yeah, that's the idea. What if a shark swims by and they have a heart attack and they sue you? And so sign a paper, okay? But anyway, that's where we are, is we're moving your spirit down to the deep sea. And that's what when you go into the exhibit, if you haven't gone in yet, we found it with a robot, Argo, a camera on a string. And interesting thing about the exhibit was you'll learn that I wasn't supposed to find it. French were supposed to find it, and they didn't. So how did I do it in a few days? Well, crazy head. But anyway, what was interesting about that was then I went back with Alvin the next year and dove down, landed on the deck, sent a robot down the grand staircase. It was pretty cool. And that was my body going down. But then I went back in 2001 on the big screen in the exhibit. You'll see spectacular footage. When I went back with my Hercules ROV, which is presently on my ship, headed to the Cook Islands, and you can watch it live, nautiluslive.org, in a couple of days. Or come here and see it live, because we're going to broadcast here live. But the point was that when we went down, then we stayed days and days and days and days and days and days, because there was no reason to come up. We would change watches. So people always say, well, how many dives have you made? I think you made it. And I said, well, how do you count a dive that lasted an hour on the bottom versus one that was 5 days? So I talk about bottom time, and that's what exploration is all about, is having bottom time. And now we're adding another mix to the game. We just did an expedition to Guadalcanal just recently, and we went into Iron Bottom Sound and mapped all the warships in very high resolution. And in that case, again, you can go online and see all what we did. But what was wonderful was we had a vehicle, and you'll see a picture of it in the exhibit, called Drix. And it's an autonomous surface boat. It has no humans in it, but it's being controlled by humans. We're even building now in the Navy ships that are subkillers that have no humans in them, but a human is in the loop somewhere. And so it's now become, as you see, sadly in Ukraine, a war of robots, a war of drones. We're turning that technology. You have to understand technology is amoral. It's neither immoral or moral. It's up to the user to decide. And we're now using vehicles where we put out a pack of dogs, so to speak, where we put down autonomous vehicles. And I have a complete command center in my home. I don't even have to leave my home now. And you'll have one in your home, and you'll go in the Serengeti in a Jeep and enjoy it and get a phone bill and not have to, you'll be like that. Oh, the excitement now, adjusting to suddenly things being somewhere else. And it takes a while to adapt to, oh, hi. It's sort of funny, like I say, I'm down in 20,000 feet, I'm fully involved, and then I go get lunch in Connecticut, and then I'm back underwater. But that's this whole technology with autonomous vehicle systems now, with AI, where they're highly intelligent vehicles. But we have to be very cautious with artificial intelligence, because again, it's amoral. It's like nuclear energy. It can heat your house or blow it up. And so we need to be very cautious and make sure the human is always in the loop, and a good human, because there will be bad players. And I started out, as she mentioned, I started out as a combat infantry officer during Vietnam, and then moved into the Navy when I was getting a PhD in oceanography. The Navy found me. That we really need to realize that there are bad actors, and normally when you develop technology, you never release it unless you know how to counter it. And that's where we are with AI. Don't let the genie out of the bottle until you know how to control the genie.
We'll get back to AI in a minute, because that certainly is when we look at America forward and applying virtue and the amorality of technology and so forth. But let's take it back to finding the Titanic. We're still in the Cold War, 1985, September 1, when you found it. You were on a secret mission that was really pre-fall of the Berlin Wall, pre-end of the Cold War. So 1985, you're on the secret mission. really in the defense of freedom and your service to the U.S. Navy. Tell us not only about the context of the finding of the Titanic in the context of the Cold War, but fast forward now 40 years later this month. Happy anniversary.
Yep, September 1st.
Happy anniversation.
2 o'clock in the morning. We always find things
2
Sunday,
o'clock in the
2 in the morning, okay.
2 o'clock in the morning, pajamas. So you look at the context of that conflict of ideology in the world, the free world versus the Soviet-era communism, and the application of the kinds of research that are going on today, like you were doing and ended up doing, in today's context. So sort of then and now.
Well, you know, and we're about to celebrate our 250th. It is a conflict of philosophies and freedom. I mean, if I were in a communistic country, I'd be in jail because I'm dangerous to those people. But in America, this is where a kid from Kansas can do what I did.
And go discover.
I mean, this is the American dream, and I love this country. But I do have memories because, see, my family came to America in 1635 into Virginia. Henry Ballard with 2 sons, Thomas and William. One went on to Boston, and one stayed in Virginia. And there was a big clan of Ballards up in New England, and there's the Virginia Ballards. And then my family moved on because one of my forefathers became a Quaker and got thrown out. In fact, they threw all the Quakers out of Virginia in 1690, went over to North Carolina into the Quaker belt. And then we were thrown out because we were harboring slaves during the Civil War. So the Confederates threw us out, and my family ended up in Kansas. I'm 4th generation Kansas, and we got chucked out of North Carolina. But I think the important thing is that my family met at Gettysburg on both sides of Pickett's charge. One wore blue and one wore gray. And remember, I'm 83, and when I was born, there were still kids that were drummer boys in the Civil War alive. It was not that far in our past. And we're at a very scary time right now. And so I just hope that, you know, the American spirit survives, that freedom survives, that democracy survives, because that's what makes this country great.
So coming up on the semi-quincentennial, half of 500, America 250 here at the Peoria Riverfront Museum. As you know, we're the only multidisciplinary museum of our kind, art, science, history, achievement, sort of bringing together all these tools to examine and reflect on America at 250. What would you say the importance of the spirit of discovery, which has led you your whole life, how important is that as we look forward to hopefully the next 250 years?
Well, I think, again, it's, I never left middle school in my heart. I mean, I love middle school kids, and we've had a chance to meet a whole bunch of them because it's before they get cool. And so it's this whole idea of garnering the spirit, and particularly when you have adversity like I had in dealing with difficulty in reading. There's now a font, by the way, I got to tell everyone out here. There's a font called Open Dyslexic Font that flips it into a format that dyslexics can read much faster. And every teacher in this country needs to know, because it's all about early detection. The damage is all done early. And if we can give kids pathways, one of the pathways is a book out called The Dyslexic Advantage, and I've never seen those two words next to one another. And this talks about the pathways for kids like us. And in the book, there's a new chapter, and it has a section in there on me by researchers that say, dyslexics make great explorers. You gotta be kidding me, you know. I just sort of backed into
there you
it,
are.
but you know, I moved away from pain and I just discovered I had an amazing gift. And that was further evolved right lobe of visualization. And then when you see the exhibit, how did I find the Titanic in such a short period of time with a camera on a string? And it's because I have this gift. And there's 20% of us in this country. And the key is making sure that kids can pursue their dream. I mean, my dream was to become Captain Nemo, which was about as ridiculous as you can imagine. But my parents worked with me on that, and that's the key. I mean, you never squelch a child's dreams, even if they sound a little crazy. Work with them on that, like I did. So I think that's the whole process of freedom. Don't work with it.
Work with it.
Make it work. Don't go to war over it. Make it work. And create a pathway that fits every human. People say, I want to be Bob Ballard. No, you want to be yourself, because you can only be second best. So, not of just me, but anyone you try to mimic. You have every human being. I mean, isn't it amazing? We see a duck and they all look alike. Okay, you look at humans and you can't, this is an amazing experiment on this planet. And America is the great experiment. The great experiment is America, because we have every kind of person in this country. And we need to realize that each person has a unique skill, and you want them to pursue a career that's unique to them. And when you get knocked down, and I got knocked down a lot in school because I had to come up with coping mechanisms to figure out how to stay ahead. I got a lot of A minuses. My brother always had A pluses, but A minus was good enough. But anyway, I also then diversified. I became a Swiss Army knife. I double majored in chemistry and geology and double minored in math and physics. I played college basketball. I was in a fraternity. I was a junior class. I just did everything. And that kind of spreading yourself out, making you a very unique person. And that's it. Every one of you is a very unique person that has a very unique offering to our country. Yeah. And you want to let everyone pursue their dreams, because when you get knocked down, it's like a prize fighter. It gets knocked down and you say, well, yeah, it's pretty nice down here. The guy's counting 10, but no one's, your passion gets you up. And that sends you back in the game, and I like to say that failure is my greatest teacher. Because I want to know, I thought I was doing pretty good, And what is it? The first time, shame on them. Second time, shame on me. So learning through failure, But what causes you to keep going is that passion. And do not squelch a child's passion. That is cruel and crazy.
Let them go.
Let them
be
let,
them. Let
yeah,
them be them.
My mother, because I'm also ADHD, as you notice, I'm moving around. I can remember she said, if you were twins, I would drown both of you, but I could handle one. She didn't really mean it, but maybe that's how I learned how to swim, out of fear.
So, the Bob Ballard puzzle.
Oh, yes.
Will you tell the audience about the Bob Ballard puzzle?
I get excited and hyper-focused, and I have to calm myself down. I'm blessed when I wake up in the morning with an outrageous amount of energy, but I need to know how to manage my energy. I was mostly managing energy. So in my office and on my ship, I'm working, and then I have about 20 feet away a puzzle board. And it's a puzzle board on a lazy Susan, so it can spin. And I put my wife, who's not, my wife is my other half. I talk about finding your other half, and that is if you look at life through one eye, and you get a very opinionated view of the world with one eye, and then you meet the other eye, your other half, and you say, what do you see? And they see, are we looking at the same thing? But you want to cherish that other view, because together you see in stereo. And my wife is the exact opposite of me. I'm doing this, and she's down I'll go hunting, and she'll say, oh, I'll get out the recipe. I didn't tell you what I'm going to shoot yet. I mean, she's already cooking and I'll tell her it could be a whatever, or I'll go fishing, and it could be a trout, or it could be a blue, and a blue is a very different fish to prepare and cook. So my point is having that, perspective of seeing the other ways is so critical to my success. But in my world, that's with puzzling. What I love about puzzles is there's a puzzle company, a couple of them in Maine, but naturally I like Nautilus puzzles, and you can get those too. So she gets puzzles and there's no picture. She rents these wooden puzzles, because once I've done them, they're done in my mind. I can remember them. So she rents a 1,000-piece wooden puzzle, nothing on it, and you pour it out, and they say, how do you do a 1,000-piece puzzle? Well, it's 1,000-piece puzzles, okay. She commissioned a puzzle, this is my wife, where the edges were gone. Not fair. It gets a lot worse. She had puzzles, the puzzle had holes in it that couldn't be filled. Gets worse. She had puzzle pieces that were worthless and went nowhere. And every piece was blue. Took me a little longer, but I got it. Because once I see a shape, I'll be on the puzzle board, oh yeah, that's over there. I've literally have visualization memories of the pieces, and I see them, and they're locked in. And that's how I got through school. I would take my notes and immediately go to the library and type my notes on a typewriter. Because then I would remember things, and if I waited too long, I couldn't read my notes anyway, so I needed to type them. And I would type up my notes, and then when an exam came, see, I also have fallen in love with conscious and subconscious, particularly now at 83 when I get up more often than not at night. But anyway, what I found was the subconscious is infinitely more intelligent than my conscious, and it never sleeps. Mine doesn't anyway, terrorizes me. But anyway, what happens is that you then so I'm sitting at night knowing I'm going to be taking an exam the next day, and I take the sheets of paper and I photograph them. And I fall asleep, and through the night, my subconscious completely memorizes them. And I wake up and I go and I see the question and I close my eyes and I read my notes and there's the answer. Also, commonly someone will ask me something and I'll look up. I'm reading it. Or I'm looking at it. It's just a powerful, powerful tool, your subconscious. And I have these conversations, almost schizophrenic conversations, because I wake up and I REM cycles every 90 minutes, And when I'm on watch, when I'm at sea, there's 4 on 8 off watches. But when you're the head of the team, you have to be at every watch change, so every 4 hours. So you get 2 REM cycles in. You get 3 hours, an hour and a half, an hour and a half. And I just mastered that, how my brain works. And but I didn't know how it works. I didn't know I was dyslexic growing up. My mom said I missed phonics, and I missed phonics or whatever. It wasn't until my daughter was diagnosed, because I live in Connecticut where my wife says we're going to live, and she's a Yankee, but anyway, not far from Yale. I'm also on the board of Yale. I used to be a fellow at Calhoun College there and help kids, and also they have an ROTC unit there I talked to. And what was really interesting, that's we're the epicenter of dyslexic research on how the dyslexic mind works. And so all the teachers in our area are sensitized, and they spotted my daughter in middle school, or very early in her life. And And it was through her I discovered I was dyslexic, and sort of nice to know you're not alone. But yeah, so it's just an extremely, extremely wonderful gift.
It's a gift.
Yeah, because remember, there's the new research, like I said, it says dyslexics are the great explorers. Remember, the printed word is in human evolution is yesterday. All before that, it was oral history. And in fact, our school, when my daughter was struggling, they tested her orally and found she knew everything. They tested her. She said, "Well, you know everything, don't you?" Yeah, I do. Just package it in a way I can give you an answer. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey.
No kidding. I don't know what sounds more difficult to me, discovering the Titanic or the puzzle your wife gave you. But your mind,
I found the Titanic in 5 days. It took me a week to do hers. So.
but I love how you are talking about your special gifts and the use of dyslexia,
Yeah, it's a powerful tool.
which
It's
you
a
really
gift.
didn't discover you had until
No, I
60
just
years old.
But I figured out how to use whatever it was,
Yeah,
and then they could
you
put a
knew
name
what
on
it
it. But then it was more. I figured out how to do it, how to get around the non-dyslexic. I just didn't know. But then once I learned it, then I became really dangerous because now I could master it. I basically coped with it and got around with it, and I used different skill sets. But when I realized exactly what it was, and in the book there's 4 flavors of dyslexia, and you have a little of each, but then you have certain real strong ones. And it's just like a roadmap to success. It was like, oh, and I just mastered it.
Amazing.
Wow.
So using your special gifts and encouraging all of us to use ours in a unique way, when you look out on the horizon, America forward, what do you want to discover in nautical archaeological terms or
Well,
maritime, that you haven't found yet?
See, you gotta love that question. What do you want to discover? I haven't a clue what I'm gonna bump into. I mean, it was hydrothermal vents, which was, remember, there was a 10-year period. I was fortunate to be my PhDs in earth sciences. And I was lucky to be in the revolution of the earth sciences when we threw away the geology textbook, which was completely wrong, and rewrote it with plate tectonics. And I was on the team that, in my PhD thesis, helped take a theory and make it law. And once you figure out, and it's fundamentally understanding the earth. It's just most of it's underwater. And it's easier to read in underwater than on land because land is extremely gobbledygook because continents are just all smashed together. But the ocean is extremely logical. It's geology. And to learn how the earth functions as a living creature, it's called the concept of Gaia. It's now a new, much debated concept like plate tectonics was, because plate tectonics was preceded by continental drift by a German meteorologist. Oh, what can a meteorologist know about geology? But then he was right, where you simply put the continents back together and they all fit in the Atlantic. But he was ridiculed into death because he couldn't explain how continents can drift. And they don't drift, they're on the backs of plates. But when you finally got plate tectonics and realize the systematic nature of our planet as an intellect, of how it performs and behaves, particularly when it comes to resources. The Easter Bunny did not put the resources all over the planet. But when plate tectonics came along, it told you exactly where to look. I'm after rare earths right now, slam dunk. Don't worry about us finding rare earths within the US EEZ that can be mined without environmental impact. I know exactly where to go, and they're now letting me do it. So the point is that it's such a powerful tool of realizing that the earth it's systematic behavior. It's logical. And then you look at how it lives symbiotically with all other species except one that's off the reservation. And I tell you, if Earth goes at us, and I think COVID's the first shot or whatever, if the Earth and all other life declares war on the human race, we lose. You're not going to beat Mother Nature. So we need to say, well, can you tell us what you'd like us to do? The parent. But no, understanding the planet is critical. But we're starting to really understand it. And that's hopeful.
Hydrothermal vents.
Yeah.
Let's switch back to 1977, arguably your most significant scientific discovery. Explain what that is and why it matters a great deal to the future.
Well, and again, what I love to, what's really wonderful is I started going to sea. I got a scholarship from the National Science Foundation to go to sea when I was 17 in 1959. I went to sea on my first oceanographic cruise, and I was doing, oxygen titration. I mean, I was a kid, so they had me doing kid things, but then I fell in love with that all. But when I was, I thought I wanted to be a marine biologist, and I was talked out of it, fortunately, because they say, I have a fan club. There they are, right across the street, all over the world. I have a global fan club. And I have a staff that we answer every letter. I mean, the story of Pete Buttigieg, the Secretary of Transportation, he wrote me a letter when he was a kid, and I answered it, and we had breakfast the other day. But anyway, so the point is that what happens is that what I wanted to do was to tap that energy and learn how the Earth systematically behaves. But at the time, the biology book, so we threw away the geology book and rewrote it with plate tectonics. Now we got the biology book, and the biology book said all life on Earth is dependent upon the warmth of the sun and its photonic energy. It sends out these little bundles of energy called photons, and they travel through the outer space at the speed of light, come into our planet, and the chlorophyll catches them like a catcher and takes that bundle of energy and turns it into carbon and fixes carbon and creates food chain, photosynthesis. That's what it said right in that's how life exists. So we were on an expedition, not looking for anything about life. We were exploring a great, great mountain range, the mid-ocean ridge, that was, we thought it might have, because it was where the plates are separating, there's magma chambers and there's volcanoes and underwater, there should be hot springs. And so we were trying to understand, it's a long explanation, so I won't bother you. It'll probably be in our next traveling exhibit, so get ready for that, where we really go into depth in this, and I say that with a pun. So imagine me in a submarine, driving down this mountain range, right along where the plates are separating, all this they were active volcanoes, but don't be around them when they're doing that. But anyway, it's brand new terrain. And it's like walking in the desert, because there's no sunlight, so true, there isn't a whole lot of life down there. And then coming on an oasis, like in the Sahara, instead of palm trees, there were tube worms 13 feet tall, sticking out their lung. There were giant clams, this big. Then when you opened them up, they had flesh, human-like blood. And when you dissected the clam, it had no internal organs, yet it was alive. It had another creature in its body. We have bacteria in our stomach. It was nothing but a primitive bacteria called archaean bacteria. And it had a conversation with the clams and the tube worms. And here's how the conversation went. So, there's this spring, and I'm a bacterian. It's pretty hard to live in, fire hydrant. Now, you're living in it, and it doesn't blow you away. Can I get in your body? And here's what I want you to do. I want you to inhale dissolved hydrogen sulfide, the deadly, deadly gas. Work with me on this, clam. And take it into your body and give it to me. And I will replicate photosynthesis in the dark and fix carbon and feed you in a whole ecosystem. And the clam, I guess the ones that didn't agree are dead, and the ones that agreed. And, excuse me, and you have this amazing oasis of life driven by a process that has replicated photosynthesis in the dark. And guess why NASA just fired a satellite to a moon of Jupiter called Europa? Europa, Saturn and Jupiter are their own little solar systems. They have moons around them, just like our sun has us around them. And several of them, in the case of Jupiter, it's Europa, but in the case of Enceladus, it's Uranus, similar to Europa. And in the case of both of them, they have ice canopy because they're out in outer space. But beneath that ice canopy are oceans far larger than ours. Our deepest ocean is 7 miles deep off Challenger Deep, where my ship is right now. Their oceans are 60 miles deep, far more water. And because these think of them as planets, but these moons are going around not in a circular orbit like us, but in an elliptical orbit. So it gets close and it goes out and comes in. Have you ever taken a coat hanger back and forth to break it? And before it breaks, it burns your fingers because of the heat of distortion. These planets or moons are being flexed and they cause volcanism. And they're confident there will be life within those oceans. I don't think they'll be like Peoria, but anyway, I just want to get it over with. So I'm working with NASA to accelerate them finding bacteria. I don't think they're going to find a clam or two, where they'll find something interesting, but it will not be very advanced because there's no plan B for the human race. We're not going to find a place to live logically. You want to live on Mars? Good luck. Okay. The laws of physics are amazing. And what's so wonderful about the laws of physics is they apply throughout the universe. It's not like the laws of Peoria or the laws in China or whatever. Can you imagine a set of rules that apply everywhere? And what's really wonderful about the laws of physics, they control my dreaming. I dream things that can actually happen instead of something really, really goofy. I haven't gone totally goofy. But I'm confined by the laws of it. So what the laws of physics say, as you approach the speed of light, you develop infinite mass. So I'm, what I weigh, but as I approach the law, I just get, my heart fails. It cannot, I become a super, super heavy thing. So we cannot escape the our solar system. Because when they say I found a planet-like object 1 million light years away, that's a long trip. And so please understand, we are not going to leave this planet. We cannot just mess it up and leave. And so get back on the reservation, get back in harmony with Earth and all the other creatures on our planet, and live in that symbiotic relationship. Yeah.
So you've taken us out to space. So I want to bring us back to the oceans and compare and contrast our both philanthropic resources, our corporate resources, our governmental resources, and so forth that we're investing. Clearly, there's a sort of a race, space race among the centibillionaires. There's renewed competition among countries, China and India, the United States, and so forth for space, and cooperation as well. But there's a lot of resources in space. There are some resources in the ocean. Compare and contrast.
Oh, NASA's PR budget is bigger than our ocean to explore our own planet. No, it's ridiculous. The decimal point's way over here. So no.
And why does that happen? What do you think? What's our fascination and investment in resource? And we have a
I think heaven's up there and other places down there. I think we've got to pre-position and not liking going particularly. And here's important: that we're not going to live down there. We're not going to live down there. It's pitch black. We're not going to live or even go out onto the ocean. It's crazy. We're land animals. We just need to. I live, fortunately, in a community where 70% of all land is in conservation. And I live between Boston and New York, so don't think that this is one big city. I don't want to tell you where I live because you might move there, but no, I'm just killing you. No, I think we need to realize that we're stuck on land, and we got to make it work. And countries, fortunately, America still has vast areas, but we're not going to terraform. You know what? This sounds a little crazy. You know, we let all that water go down the Mississippi and out in. Why don't we send it to Arizona? I mean, there's so many. You got freeways. Can't you put a big pipe down the freeway? But anyway, when you get into the physics of it, you can actually, as long as when you put it in is higher than where you take it out, it can go up and down on the way. But anyway, there's all sorts of things we can do. One of the key things is to feed us, because if you go watch a program on TV called Kiss the Ground about the loss of topsoil in farmlands. If you stand in Louisiana at New Orleans, no, see, I said it right, New Orleans, you'll watch 1.2 metric tons of topsoil go by you a day, forming the Mississippi. 1.2 million metric tons of topsoil passes Louisiana every day. And some people predict you have 50 harvests. And that's because you're letting erosion take place. So it's an amazing program of farmers talking to farmers. It's not the federal government. Farmers talking to farmers about better farming practices. But the ocean, by far, will be a breadbasket. But the problem we have in the ocean right now is we're eating the lions and tigers and bears of the ocean. We don't eat lions and tigers on land. We eat things that photosynthesis, grass, eat them. We're at the bottom of the food chain of the animals we're eating. We're eating the top predators in the ocean. And if you know another one is that reinstating wolves in Yellowstone, of how the wolves got the gelp to go back where they belong and the whole ecosystem balances. Another one, the smallest little farm. It's also on YouTube. It's a couple of hippies in California that wanted to reestablish a vineyard, and they had the plagues of Egypt, and it took them 10 years until the top predator showed up, the owl, and the whole system clicked back into balance. So we need to do there's another great thing on TV called the Valhalla Project, another thing I'm a YouTuber. I like seeing movies. Okay, and this is where they took a top predator that we buy and we eat in a sushi restaurant, kampachi, hamachi, yellowtail sushi. It's a predator, and it's top of the food chain. They took this predator and had a conversation with it. Sound like a clam talking to bacteria. But anyway, they had a conversation with this fish. And they said, we're going to take you out of the reef. We're going to take you off the Kona coast in big eddies, and we're going to put you in a cage in 12,000 feet of water where there's no food. The reason the Hawaii waters and tropical waters are so beautiful, there's nothing in it because nutrients burn off with temperature. So they're in fundamentally sterile water. And they put these guys in a cage, and they feed them soybean. They say, I'm going to flip you from a carnivore to a herbivore. And the fish went, I guess so. And so they began, and they bring those fish to market the same amount of time it takes to bring a pig to market. Pigs, I think, is $1.50 wholesale. That fish is $17.50 wholesale. And what's really wonderful is that tropical area is massive amount of real estate, farmland, future farmland. There's massive volume of that space, and you're not driving anything out. And so open ocean aquaculture, and you can made it completely autonomous, without humans, doing it with robots and artificially controlled from land by humans. And what I really love about it is when these fish that are in the cage eating their soybean, they poop, and it poops into 12,000 feet of water, and they get a carbon sequestration credit. You gotta love it. So there's all these clever things that we can do. I'm an optimist, and there are solutions to our problems. We just need to be listening and in tune with Mother Nature.
Final question. You're an optimist, you just said.
I have a choice, and I
Yes.
choose to be an optimist.
You're a father, proud
Yep.
father.
Very proud. Husband, don't forget that.
Husband, and of course, proud son as well. You mentioned your mother before. We're all
Yeah.
sons and daughters. So look, we're America 250 is the launch. You were the first of our America Forward speaker series. Look forward. Give me a vision for what you would dream to see this country in 50 years from now.
Look at a ticking clock on the web of the percentage of the American people are what percentage of the population of the planet. And the last time I looked, it was 4.8, 4.6, 4.6% of is how many Americans we have, and the clock is going down this way. China's got 1.5 billion. India's now just eclipsed them. Africa's. We need every American we can lay our hands on. And that's why, if you look at my core of exploration, we're doing the second Lewis and Clark expedition because we've been asked by our country to find out what we own. 52% of the United States is beneath the sea, and we have better maps of Mars than half the United States. And we were just commissioned. That's how I retired. I got a new job, so I got new tires, so I got 10 more years. So the idea is to make sure, when you look at my team, you will see every American on that team. You need to embrace the beautiful difference of our country because we are the experiment of the human race. Can we get along with one another? Or is the human experience a failure? And we are that experiment for the planet. And let's be proud about that, and let's take on that challenge and show that we can get along with one another. That's my bottom line.
That's a wonderful bottom line. And here at our humble institution, Peoria Riverfront Museum, we have a mission statement to unleash the full talent and genius of every individual. And I could not think of a better spokesperson with a better pitch than what you just made for that mission statement. And we thank you so much for helping us look at America forward today. Dr. Robert
Thank you
Ballard.
for having me. Go in and see the exhibit.